So, Mark White, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Congrats on your in-sequence lineup 147.
Thank you. Took a while.
How long have you been battering away at doing that?
It started last May.
Oh,
Good friend of mine still lives in England. He did it. We were doing progressively more difficult challenges.
right.
So I think just a full lineup, any order, and then a lineup with any colours in order, and then a lineup with maxi lineup with reds in any order. And then the ultimate was the maxi lineup in order, and he did it. He did it within about a couple of weeks. He's a pretty good player, and that was back in May. I actually looked at his video. It was May 17th last year.
Right. What's his name?
Shane Doy,
Right.
wasted talent.
And so you took up the you took the bait, and
Yes,
you said you've done hundreds of attempts at this, right?
yeah, yeah, definitely. And I tried to estimate originally, and I had a good go at it for a few months last year. Maybe May through July, something like that, and then I dropped off a bit, wasn't practicing as much. I got busy with work, uh, and just started practicing a bit more the last couple of months. I've been playing since I saw you actually in November.
Mm,
I've been practicing a bit more,
yeah.
and so I got back into the drill over the last couple of months, and I've been going at it. And occasionally I'll practice without trying to do it because it is a bit demoralizing.
Yeah.
But what I found was that if I didn't have that kind of drill, if I was just throwing balls around and trying to practice break building,
Yeah.
I'd be less focused,
Yeah.
and I'd miss easy shots. Playing on my own.
Yeah.
So it was the drill really helped me to stay focused for longer periods of time.
That's really interesting positive side effect. And the other thing that you said is that it tightened up your positional play better than probably any other drill that you've been doing.
Uh, Without a doubt, you can just, when you're doing a general random lineup, oftentimes you're not even playing for a ball. You're just playing into a space where there's a bunch of balls, and you'll be on one, and you'll take the one that you're on the best. It's
Yeah.
like, so it's just terrible practice from that perspective.
Yeah.
The random lineup, the in sequence lineup, whether you do all blacks or otherwise,
Mm.
is much better. But obviously, when you do all blacks, you've got only not only got to be on the right ball, you've got to be on the right ball with the right angle,
Yeah.
and that's what makes it so difficult. And my game, since I came back from the last lesson with you, and I made some changes of my own as well.
Yeah.
I actually got an email from you, your email series, your New Year's resolution series, was a similar theme. Each one of those emails was a similar theme around finding your aim, and read those, and something clicked for me. A couple of things about that email. Those
Red does. Red
me
does.
is what? Sorry.
You said red does. Oh,
No,
you read those. You read the
I read
emails.
those. Yeah, I
Okay.
read
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm a bit bunged up this week.
The red-nosed reindeer.
Yeah, exactly. Um, no, I
Okay.
tell you, it was you taught me. Look, I mean, I've been playing for 30 years, and I was always a natural player. I'd never had a lesson in my life until I
Yeah.
talked to you 18 months ago. And I played for years, and I had a high break of 128, and I was a decent player. I once beat Paul Hunter in a tournament. I'm not sure if I ever mentioned that. He was 14.
No, I don't think you did actually.
I don't know, in Yorkshire somewhere. He was obviously a great player, but I managed to beat him just as he was coming up, still a youngster.
Mm.
Um, but that's one of the very few tournaments I ever played because I was a pool player. So I was just, a natural player. Never had any kind of method to my game.
Yeah.
And I think because I played more English pool, you could get away with it.
Yeah.
You just didn't need that kind of meticulousness to your stance, to your action. Um, so when I started playing snooker again, I remodeled my house here in Texas, and put a table in just over 18 months ago.
And
And then,
actually, you've just had your 20th anniversary of having made the jump from the UK to the US, haven't you?
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So I'm not sure whether the folks on your snooker community realize that I'm actually a Brit from Doncaster. When I say I'm an American, I've been an American now for 18 months, and I did that so that I could take part in the US Nationals. So that's
Right.
my main goal.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got the table and started playing a bit more seriously. I bought a Paris cue, played with that for about 9 months, and it reverted back to a cheap Tiger cue that I'm playing with still. My new ton per amp cue comes tomorrow, so I'm
Okay.
gonna switch to that, see how that goes. But this one's doing pretty well for right now, and but never really put anything into my technique until I started working with you. And you immediately said things. I remember the first thing you said was stop leaving your chalk on the table. I thought, wow, this is a different kind of standard that I'm used to. Yeah, we're going to get into the weeds here, which has been good because I could probably list, I don't know, a dozen things that you've helped me with. First one was standing away from the table and walking into the shots. I was always guilty of sliding around the table from shot to shot.
And the chalk on the cushion will force a player to do that, of course.
Yeah, that's right.
It
That's right.
seems so innocuous.
Yeah, exactly. It just makes you lazy. Whereas if it's in your pocket, you can maintain your discipline and just that discipline of walking into the shot. At the time, I didn't realize how important that was. I, and I don't know whether you'd gotten this at the time. I wasn't actually thinking I should be aiming at the same time. Weirdly enough, I was kind of generally just standing behind the shot and then stepping in, getting down, and still fishing. Right?
By
And
fishing, you mean
fishing for the line,
finding, trying to
exactly.
hone in on the line of aim.
And I just assumed that was normal, but obviously when you watch the top pros, they're never fishing, but they get down on the line so naturally they don't have much of a pause. I was watching Ding today. He's pretty ill-disciplined, I think, when he walks into the shots. He's got a very, very small pause before he gets down, and then of course Ronnie is an outlier anyway.
Yeah.
But whereas you look at John Higgins and the meticulousness with which he walks into a shot, and I think I would need to do that because I need to take my time to find the line.
Yeah.
And then on the emails that you sent earlier this year, you said one thing that really helped me, and it's as you go down, you watch in the object ball, you found your line already, and then you maintain your eye contact with the object ball all the way down, and until you're in the position at no time have you even looked at the white, and if you find then that your tip is in line with where you want to hit the white, the cue ball, then of course you're on the line. You've stepped onto the line properly, and it's a fantastic test. I never really had that check, and since I've started doing that and incorporating that check, wow, my consistency with potting and being able to find the angles has just gone through the roof.
So is what you're saying that you get down to the shot, you keep looking at the object ball, keep your eyes on the object ball, you get down, and then before you start queuing up, you just check that you actually are on the line. Is that what you're saying?
No, I check I do a few things, with my eyes and the check on the line after I've gotten down. But when I first get down, at the moment I'm still, I'll look at the cue ball, and then I'm checking to see where the tip is. And the tip's very close to the cue ball, maybe within an inch. And if it's a centre ball shot and I'm aiming and I'm centre ball, then I know I've walked onto the line properly. Occasionally I'll just be off centre, and I know I haven't walked onto the line properly, so I'll stand back up.
Okay, that's
And just
interesting.
adjusting my stance a little bit to make sure that I'm getting down on the right line. So it's been a great check because I did your drill for a while to once you do that, then just one backswing and hit.
Yeah.
And it's when you do that properly, you make the balls, you make the shot, and so it really did reinforce that the importance of that technique.
Yeah, I think people don't appreciate that is 90% of your aiming.
Yeah,
Most
and
players,
I definitely didn't.
yeah.
I definitely didn't appreciate it.
Yeah, and how would you know? I mean, why would you be aiming when you're walking down to the table? It doesn't make intuitive sense. but
Yeah.
it's what the pros do. So we might as well follow their cue, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Normally, what I suggest to players is as the hand touches the table, then look to the white, but certainly no earlier than that,
Yeah.
because of course, in your peripheral vision, you are seeing the white ball anyway. You
Much more
can't.
than I ever appreciated. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's great. Any other big one or two or three takeaways from the last 18 months that have helped you reach? I mean, you haven't been practicing 18 months just to do this clearance, but it's a great little incentive that you've
Yeah.
passed.
That's right.
And looking back at the, in addition to approaching the shot properly, is there anything, and putting the chalk in your pocket, is
Yeah.
there anything else that particularly stands out that really helped you rediscover your and perhaps surpass your prior form?
Yeah, I'm definitely better than I've ever been.
Oh,
Maybe
great,
a 20-year gap in playing.
great.
I used to play a lot from the age of 14 in both games, but now I'm definitely better because I'm so much, there's so much more method to my game.
Yeah,
And so you showed me those issues that made me inconsistent. When we met in November, you showed me one that just made my eyes roll when you videoed me in slow mo playing a shot and leaning into it. Showing my arm, my elbow, my bridge elbow bend on the shot was just such a revelation to me
yeah,
that I didn't even know it was happening. But obviously, if there's that kind of movement in your action, you're going to be inconsistent. You're going to miss, silly shots. I still miss some silly shots. That's one of my goals to get that out of my game. Stop missing the easy ones. But far fewer now than I've ever missed. And
that,
so that was a big one for me, maintaining the pressure with my elbow. I had a floating elbow,
yeah,
and so you helped me make sure that I was planting my bridge arm elbow flat on the table wherever I can, whenever you can. And even when you can't now, you're much more conscious of staying still, being rigid with that arm,
yeah,
which is another change I made only in the last few weeks. I found that, funnily enough, going back to aiming, whenever I would reach, whenever I was stretching for a shot, and so my bridge arm is at full stretch,
yeah,
I, I wouldn't do it all the time. I would only do it when I was having to reach for a shot
yeah,
because I had to. I found I saw the line a lot better. I tended not to miss many of those shots.
yeah,
And so I thought maybe I should just have a straight arm on every shot. And so I did. And again, that was another click that took me up a notch. And, it makes sense. I think there's two things about it that helped me. One, for some reason, it set my eyes at a specific distance from the cue ball every time.
yeah,
That seemed to work with my focal point, let's say.
yeah,
And then the other one is just consistency. If my arm is the same, if it's straight,
yeah.
I know it's the same distance every time, and so it's just another measure of consistency for me. And I'm not sure it works for everybody. It's about what you're comfortable with, but it's really helped me.
Oh, that's great. And you're still able to maintain the weight on the elbow, okay, are you?
Yeah, yeah. And I'll tell you what else has happened too. The pain I was having in my left shoulder is gone. So you pointed that out when I said back in November that I was getting pain up in my upper arm here. You said it may be because my elbow is floating,
Mm.
and to make it float, this muscle is doing the work to
Yeah.
keep it off the table. And ever since I've started planting it, this pain has gone. So that was a fantastic side effect, side benefit.
Great. I mean, that is very common. If
Yeah,
any, often I'll have a Skype call with somebody and they say, I've got pain in my left shoulder. 9 times out of 10, they feel like I'm mind reading or something, but I've just seen it so often that,
yeah,
oh, well, your elbow's floating above the table.
right.
And
Yeah.
then, oh, really? How do you know that?
I know the benefit of coaching. I'll tell you, if I wish I'd had a coach 35 years ago. And if anybody's out there trying to improve without a coach, don't set your expectations too high. And if you're not putting the work in as well, just you see some of these threads with the guys getting frustrated.
Yeah.
If you're not using a regular coach, getting regular feedback and self-assessing, and you're not putting the hours in, don't be surprised when you're not improving.
Yeah.
Just enjoy the game, just have fun with it.
Yeah.
Um, Simple as that, really.
expectations management, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the interesting thing was you're an accomplished 100 break player. You
Yeah.
did not know that you were shifting forward as you hit the ball.
Right.
So if a 100 break player is unaware of doing something as elementary as that,
Yeah.
what about all the other players who haven't made 40 yet? What are they
So
not aware of?
so many things. When you look at the average club player, you can point out a dozen things for them to work on, and of course you don't, because they don't want to hear it from just an average Joe. You
Yeah,
feel like walking around the club just pointing at things for people to help them out.
yeah. Well, that's terrific. And in terms of missing the silly balls, what I think you might find useful is practicing easy balls. What I mean by that is, for example, do 5 lineups and see if you can make an average of 100, for example, or beat
Yeah.
your average consistently, and not with 4 reds below the black, maybe 1 or 2 reds below the black. The red's a bit more open,
Yeah.
so the reds aren't near the top cushion to make them tough. But so you have a whole 15 easy reds on the table,
Yeah.
because in theory you should never miss, but you
Right.
will, and you will lose position. And it's all about practicing keeping the mind in one place, which is one reason John Higgins is so good. I think what you've probably learnt from this drill is that well, as you said, the discipline of getting down, the positional requirements are so demanding,
Yeah.
much more so than most people ever realise or give the game credit for. And in the same way, the ability to hold your mind in one place and keep it there is
Yeah.
such a massive part of the game. As you get toward your level and beyond, it goes more and more important. That
Yeah.
ability to hold the mind in one place for a given amount of time. And so that's a massive differentiator for you now, is to what degree you're able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's it's having all those cues for me, the physical cues. So now I've torn my game apart. I mean, I was the first. One of the first things you told me was to turn my cue over. You remember I was holding it with the bevel flat
Yeah.
to my fingers, and so I turned my cue over. Well, that's just one thing I've changed. I think the only thing that's maybe still the same is the elbow, right? The pendulum of the arm. The rest of it has been torn apart, and now I'm just rebuilding it. And I over the last year, up until about a couple of months ago, I was twisting my body around and trying to get my head in a spot that felt comfortable. But the thing that sorted all that out was straightening my arm. And it's like, once you straighten your arm, you just can only be in one place, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't work. And the only other little thing, the couple of cues now I've got to make is the hand coming through to the chest.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to do that on every shot.
Hmm.
And then the cue must be under this particular part of my chin.
Yeah.
Right, so I know if it's touching a specific spot, that my head is in the right spot, my eyes are in the right spot, and so now I'm just putting the work in. Now I'm just putting the practice in
Perfect.
to grain
Because
that in.
yeah, you've got a solid foundation. If your cue is not on your vision center, you are wasting your time. You're looking around a
Yeah,
corner.
right, exactly.
You probably better off not playing, because it will be too frustrating. I
Yeah,
mean, I've seen players who've been in the wrong position above the cue for 20 years because someone
yeah,
in the club told them,
right.
"Oh, you've got to cue under the left eye."
Yeah,
I mean, where do you get that idea from?
yeah,
Oh, because your left eye, you put the finger on the chalk and
yeah,
put your cue under that eye and all that sort of thing. It's over reductionistic. But yeah, once you found your vision center, yes,
but for
you
me,
lay
it was
practice
just
on
that
top.
drill. It was just that drill of medium to long range blue, straight blue, and then just stepping into it and checking hours online, and then if I'm online, fire the shot, and if you get it consistently, then you grooved in for the almost for the day, right? Because I always used to find when I played, there were some days I got it and some days that I hadn't, or back then, and it was just fortune. It's
Yeah,
just happened to get down on the first few shots in the same way, and it was either good or bad. And then if it's bad, you just could never work out why it was bad because you didn't have any cues to get yourself back into the right position.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm stepping in exactly the right place every time, and I'm finding myself, starting a session and playing better within 10 minutes, rather than before it would take me an hour, to find out what I was doing wrong and then slowly correct it.
Interesting.
So of course that's a wasted hour.
Yeah.
And I don't get a lot of time to practice anyway. So this is, it's really coming together well.
Interesting point. And the when you say having a routine and having a method or a set of cues to guide yourself by, that the image that comes to my mind then is John Higgins, that he's the perfect example of that, like a metronome, isn't he? Completely repeatable.
Absolutely. Yeah. And of course now he doesn't have to think about it.
Yeah.
Whereas I still do. And I hope that, over the course of the next few months, it becomes more and more subconscious.
That's the idea. That is the idea. So we hope to hear more and more success stories and more videos from you.
Well, it's great for them, isn't it? It's a good group of guys. It's good to get some feedback.
Yeah.
It's fun to put an achievement up there. So now the next one is the US Nationals in May. So I didn't acquit myself very well last year. It's in New York again, but at a different club. Mm-hmm. So going to give that another shot and try and do better this year.
Well, that's 2018, isn't it? So hopefully the history books will look back in June and say something that would make you happy as a player.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was the driver for us becoming citizens. Everybody laughs at me for that. We've been here 20 years, and the only reason I wanted to become a citizen was so I can play in the US Nationals, let alone all the family issues. But anyway, we did that, and I'm starting to have a lot of fun with it. But I would be nowhere near it. I'd be still flailing around if I hadn't started working with you.
Well, great. Thank you very much. And ultimately, it's you who's done it. I can show the way, but you have to drink the snooker Kool-Aid and actually take this on and say, okay, I do actually need to be totally repeatable, totally disciplined. Yeah. Most players have no idea the level of discipline and repeatability and precision that we need to play this. I think it's easy to assume, how difficult can that be to knock in 100 like John Higgins just did?
Yes.
What's the problem?
I know, yeah. Well, it's when people like Alex Higgins can do it.
Yeah.
That destroys all the coaching theories, doesn't it? Because the only thing he did right was deliver the cue straight. The rest of it is a disaster.
Well, for about 1 centimetre.
That's right.
While he was hitting the white.
That's right.
And then it was off to the side.
And then you can also look at Ronnie and think, I think I'll just play like Ronnie. I mean, it's dead easy. But he's just not the right kind of guy to follow for me. The meticulous guys are the ones for me. Because you just see that it's ingrained, and it's motionless. Even Selby, moves around. So I prefer to watch the guys like Higgins.
Great. Well, thanks a lot for taking the time out to share some of your insights, and we hope to see even more things from the end of your queue in the coming months.
Definitely, we'll come up with another challenge and get that up there. But let's see if some of the other members can try the maxi lineup in sequence.
I know at least one other is in Norway.
I want to hear the pain they go through because it's so frustrating, especially when you get near the end and you're just the wrong side of the red and you've got to try and lash it in and go around the table or whatever.
Oh no, not another 6 months
on that drill.
Yeah, but anyway, it was great clearance. Nice to see nice to see you slot that black into the middle in the end. And well, we'll keep in touch and hopefully have another call like this after your next bigger accomplishment. So
the real maxi,
yeah.
Let's go for that. All right, Nick.
Okay, thanks a lot, man. Cheers.
Have a good one. Talk soon. Bye bye.
The professionals are thinking almost like there's only one more ball on the table. So they're thinking almost like that last red next to the pink, where I have to be perfect on this, because actually they do. To keep the break going for 4, 5, 6, 8 more shots, they do need to be that accurate. do what a lot of players do, which is stand behind the line of the red. Okay, I've got that line. Then very quickly go to the white, and then play. Players feel that gives them more control, but actually it gives them less.